So there I was, right? Minding my own business, cruising the aisles of the party store, trying to make my little dude Luke's 7th birthday the soccer-themed extravaganza he'd been dreaming about for weeks. I had everything in the cart. Soccer ball plates, goalpost napkins, and of course the piece de resistance, a dazzling 7 candle that practically screamed happy birthday. Soccer superstar. Now, let me give you a quick lowdown on Luke. He's this pant-sized tornado of energy with a heart as big as the soccer field he dreams of conquering. Kid's obsessed with the number 7, claims it as his lucky charm because it's the jersey number he rocks on his soccer team. So naturally, when I found this awesome candle, I thought, jackpot. Now, cue the entrance of Karen. You know the type, the self-proclaimed masters of the universe, entitled Beyond Belief. So there I am, strolling down the aisle with Luke, candle in hand, when Karen and her little sidekick waltz in. Karen had that I'll own the world look, and her daughter, let's call her Mini Karen, had this kind of sheepish, I'm sorry I exist expression. Little did I know they were about to become the antagonists in the soap opera that was my son's birthday party prep. So Luke's got this candle clutched in his tiny hands, and Corinne, out of nowhere, decides she needs it more than he does. Like, seriously? She tells Luke that her precious Mini Karen wants it for her friend. How? My kid's a trooper. He looks up at her, all cute defiance, and goes, Nah, lady, this is mine. Karen's face goes from fake smiles to full on thunderstorm in seconds. She straight up snatches the candle from Luke's hand. My mama bear instincts kick in faster than you can say birthday bash, and I grab her hand. No more Mrs. Nice Mom. Give it back, I say, trying to keep my cool. But this lady, she's on another level. He can get another one. She insists like she's the queen of birthday candles or something. I look her dead in the eyes, my best mom glare on full display. Return the candle to my son or you won't love the consequences. Smooth, right? She tries to yank her hand away. But nope, not on my watch. I've got a grip like a bulldog with a bone. Security, I holler, not letting go. The store echoes with my battle cry, and suddenly Karen isn't so tough anymore. She's squirming, but I've got her. Let me go, you crazy lady, she screeches, drama oozing from every pore. I shake my head, unimpressed. Not until my son gets his candle back. Now, Minnie Karen is looking like she wants to crawl into a hole and never come out. Good, maybe she'll learn a thing or two about manners from this experience. Assault, Karen screeches like I'm the villain in this circus. You're assaulting me! I roll my eyes so hard, I'm surprised they don't get stuck in the back of my head. Lady, you snatched a birthday candle from a 7-year-old. Who's the real criminal here? Security shows up looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. They try to get the scoop, and I lay it out for them. Karen, feeling the heat, starts to backpedal. I just thought it was cute for Minnie, Karen's friend, that's all. I cut her off. Does this look like a candle store for Karen's friends? It's my son's birthday, and that candle is his. Security, not wanting a birthday party showdown in aisle 6, tells Karen to hand it over. But oh no, she's not done. Fine, take your stupid candle. You people are crazy, she spits out, dropping it on the floor like it's toxic waste. Luke, my little hero, picks it up, a triumphant grin on his face. Security guides Karen and Minnie. Karen out of the store, and I swear I hear a tiny sorry from the Minnie. My as they slink away. The store's back to normal, but the story of the great candle caper is already spreading. Some bystanders are giving me the nod of approval, others chuckle as they pass by. Luke's still buzzing from the victory, showing off his candle like it's the World Cup trophy. This is a family-style revenge, so get ready. My granddad had lived down the road from us since before I could remember. He would always play with me and my sister when my mom had to work, and I thought of him as my second father. He kept a really expensive platinum necklace on as a keepsake from my grandmother, as he always told me stories about her and the wars he served. Some backstory now on my aunt's family. They were basically people who refused to work and were actually proud of scamming to the government to pay for their lifestyle. Through benefits, they would falsely claim on mental disability and being obese as a justification to not work. At the time, getting as much as my mom would at her full-time job. My cousin had literally texted me at the time that he doesn't want to work and play on his Xbox. This witch. You are a grown 26-year-old man. Act like it. They never visited my granddad, and for good reason. He was physically disgusted with a lot of them. So here's when the story starts. My granddad wound up in hospital due to a heart attack. My mom, my sister, and me show up to care for him after 3 days, and when the doctors explains that he hasn't got much time left and to say our goodbyes evil on, rocks up with her family, so much for being so ill. You can't drive to get a job. They ask how much time he has left. Us wanting to be civil told them and led them in to talk to him. He then passes away after another day, and we get together to decide how he would want his funeral. Since my gran was buried in Cornwall, we decided to hold the ceremony there so that they can be buried together. Cornwall was about 300 miles away, but we thought it would be worth it, and I still lay down flowers every year. EA and her family not only do not want to go down to Cornwall, they refuse to chip in anything down for anything. So they decide to stay up and watch his house. I know red flags, but we were mourning, so we didn't think it through. The funeral was beautiful, heartfelt eulogies that brought memory after beautiful memory. All was well, except they had dug the wrong plot, and they decided to tell us during maybe one of Grandpa's way of making us laugh up there until we got home. Empty. Anything of value was gone, and the only thing left behind was some paintings from my grandma. She was a really good artist, and since I liked art as well, I decided to keep them. We went to EA's and denied everything. We had nothing on her at the time, so we decided to file a police report and left it at that. Until 3 weeks later when we came around to visit and see if everyone was coping. My mom had noticed some new expensive things, new TV, new PlayStation, the works, and she began to suspect something as well as me and my sister until EC Evil Cousin comes in, and he is wearing my granddad's platinum necklace. I asked him where he got it from, and he told me he had bought it with some money he got from selling pot. Yes, he sold pot as well, but I know that's my granddad's necklace. We get in the car and all of us are seething. They are no longer family. We needed revenge. The revenge time? Now, I mentioned before that they had been falsifying their medical records so that they would receive benefits from the government. Every time we would go over and sneakily take photos of everything they had just bought, as well as my EC's stash of pot and my uncle's collection of stolen goods. Forgot to mention he would steal big items off of vans and then sell them online for an extra profit. We collected every text message of them bragging about their many fancy holidays and them refusing to want to work, compiled a case report, and anonymously sent it to the claimant investigators and let them do their jobs. A month later, I hear from one of my other cousins. Nice girl, training to become a nurse, and I really admire that she didn't take the path of her family. That EA and Uncle got their benefits taken off them and had criminal charges and had to pay restitution to the businesses they stole off, and my EC got arrested to dealing pot. They are now financially screwed. I think the last time I talked to them was them asking for money. Since I came from a well-off family, they thought I could convince my mom. She doesn't want to speak to them, but I told them to get lost. I have a cousin. He is one of the most terrible people I have ever known. Selfish, dishonest, bad temper, you name it. Some years ago, my cousin was manipulating my aging grandmother and mooching off of her. He had her convinced that he was her son and his kids were her grandkids. My grandmother was starting to suffer from dementia at the time, but was still able to take care of herself. My mother figured out what he was doing and was having none of it. My mother attempted to confront him about it one day at my grandmother's house when he was dropping off his 3 kids for free childcare so he could go do whatever he wanted. He started shouting at my mother and threatening her in the driveway. My mom's dog didn't like this and started barking at him. He started screaming at my mom to get her vicious's dog away from his children, that if her dog bit them, he'd sue her, etc. My mom turned to grab her dog's collar and put the dog back in the truck, but while my mom, who is disabled and in her late 50s at the time, had her back turned and he sucker punched her as hard as he could, knocking her down and breaking her collarbone. Mom knew she was hurt, came up off the ground and told them she'd call the cops and press charges on him. My grandmother, who you must remember was not exactly in her right mind anymore but hadn't been diagnosed yet, then screamed at my mother not to cause drama and if she pressed charges on my cousin that my grandmother would disown her. My mom went to the doctor, confirmed the broken collarbone. The doctor was smart, told her that if a person had done this to her, she could press abuse or assault charges. My mom didn't want to make a fuss. That's when I took over. Fine, if he was going to play dirty, I'd play dirty too. I knew that my cousin had been completely wrecking the house he was living in. He was often late with rent and the place was falling apart. He had 3 kids full-time and a kid from his first marriage who was there on weekends. I knew that the smaller kids often went to school dirty and in ripped clothes and were constantly sick. The sick children often got my grandmother sick too. With this knowledge in mind, I called CPS. I'm pretty good at imitating different accents. I knew the call would be recorded, so I disguised my voice and reported that I was scared for those poor children, that I'd seen how dirty they were, how his house was overrun with pets and I had heard him screaming at the children and was worried that he was being abusive to them. Turns out, I was more right than I knew. Also, apparently, his actual neighbors had been calling CPS about him too. My call tipped the scales. The next day, CPS agents rolled up early in the morning for a surprise inspection. The younger kids were in dirty beds with no proper blankets. There were holes in the floor, bare electrical outlets, cats and cat feces everywhere, trash and debris everywhere. Apparently, it was so disgusting there that CPS took the kids out to their van and gave them 30 minutes to contact a relative who could safely house them. My aunt came and took the kids to her house. My cousin was given an order, 30 days to get the house in proper shape. Clean and safe for children, their needs must be visibly met, etc., or his children would be taken away and placed in foster care. He was furious. His wife was furious. They barely managed to get the place fixed in time. I heard about him complaining about some out-of-state nosy jerk called Child Services on me. If I ever find out who that jerk was, blah, blah. I just sat back and laughed. That's what you get for messing with my mom, boy! His name was red flagged for the next several years and the slightest complaint was investigated immediately. His wife, mother of the 3 who were nearly taken, started hounding him constantly about keeping the house clean because she was the one working to support them. His temper just got worse, and at one point he assaulted his eldest child. His ex-wife pressed charges of child abuse and he got put in jail for a few days. My dementia-ridden grandmother bailed him out. This got him red flagged even more, and the police made him surrender all his hunting rifles and handguns. Anytime after that, when my grandmother would get sick from some nastiness his kids gave her, I had fun picking up the phone. Because of the red flags, prior arrests for assault, and etc., Child Services stayed on him on a monthly basis. His wife eventually got so tired of CPS constantly coming around trying to take her kids away that she left him and took the kids with her to a different town. When my grandmother passed away, cousin started some nasty drama with my mom again. He threatened her, locked her out of my grandmother's house, which she had inherited in the will, so he could hold it over her head and try to get her to give him more money. Turns out his temper had gotten him in trouble and he'd had his right to bear arms taken away. He inherited some guns from my grandparents in the wills. Oops. Guess how the cops found out he had guns in his possession? Yep, that was me, again. I've also gotten him kicked out of Facebook trading groups, signed him up for newsletters, and generally any other petty thing I could think of. My mom now has a restraining order against him, and we haven't seen him in over a year. Last I heard, though, his middle child had run away from home. His second ex-wife has moved with the 2 youngest back to her home state, and he's got nothing since he blew through his inheritance money in less than a year. Just writing this makes me smile all over again. I was a witness to this conversation when I was eating at my favorite Japanese restaurant today since I had a hankering for some tonkotsu ramen. I was sitting at the bar with some sake when a Karen and her kid, couldn't have been more than 10, came in. While it isn't entirely relevant, the kid was wearing a lot of Naruto merchandise. When they entered, the hostess, a Japanese girl, took them to their table and all seemed normal. That all changed when their waitress, an African American, came to take their order. I was in the middle of enjoying a piece of crispy pork belly when I heard her audibly sigh from across the restaurant, followed by a "Get me the manager." My years of browsing the internet had me trained well enough to look up to watch the show that was about to unfold. I noticed the waitress is visibly confused, but she obliges. The manager, a white guy, comes to their table asking what the problem is. The Karen rolls her eyes. "You're not the manager. This is a Japanese restaurant and you're not Japanese. Get me the real manager." The manager gets an "I don't get paid enough" look. "Ma'am, I am the manager. Is there an issue?" The kid pipes up. "Mom, stop. I really want to eat here." I honestly felt really bad for the kid at that moment, since this was clearly not the first time she'd behaved like this. The Karen, ignoring her son, looks like she's just heard the manager say he kicks puppies for fun. But you're not Japanese. Don't you know only Japanese people can work at a Japanese restaurant? And what are you doing hiring an A-in word like that? Yes, she used a hard R. The manager wasn't having any of it. The moment he heard the slur, his expression changed from customer service to protective. Get out. I am not gonna let you bad. Mouth my employees. The kid was crying at that point, seeing that his mother had ruined his chance at getting to eat at the restaurant, but the Karen just stood up and grabbed his hand, pulling him out of the restaurant. You made my kid cry, you trash lovers. I will make sure you never get any business again. The manager tells her she's banned from stepping foot in his restaurant again. She slammed the door on the way out and flipped the manager off through the window as she left.